Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of All Hands. I just got back yesterday from the ASCM conference in Louisville, Kentucky. Very interesting, very educational. Lots of great sessions talking about supply chain, of course, but looking at a lot of different aspects, especially AI, sustainability, digital transformation were big topics at the conference. So really great topics to talk about. But the highlight of the trip, I would say, was the chance to go on a tour of UPS Worldport, which is at the Louisville, Kentucky airport there. And it's the largest sortation hub in North America, I believe. Is 5.2 million square feet, 157 miles of conveyor. And their capacity at max capacity can do like 416,000 packages sorted per hour, which is insane to think about. So we got to take a look in there. If you look on my page on LinkedIn, we shared a little video of some snippets of inside, also on our Instagram too, which we started posting too as well. We put up there a reel from the tour, but very cool experience, very cool to see, and pretty mesmerizing to see just the number of packages that are moving through there, and also the quick time too, right? So these are all flying in on planes. They do two major sorts each day. Planes fly in, they're unloaded, and from the time those packages hit the door of the facility to the time they get sorted and routed out to whether they're going on a truck or another plane to their destination, those packages are only in the building an average of 13 to 20 minutes. So pretty mind-boggling to think about all of those things going on and how those all kind of go around, and all these things and steps that happen in between, and crazy technology and conveyor automation that goes into play just to get your package on your front porch. So really cool to experience that. So thank you to ASCM for being able to set that tour up, and really enjoyed that. So additionally, what else is going on this week? We had some great podcasts. We had Laura Ritchie from Radial, which has been a pretty popular episode, so definitely check that one out. We also have coming up next week, we will have our first ever happy hour, which will be sponsored by Variable in partnership with them. And you guys know Variable is a longtime friend of the podcast. So we'll be helping them celebrate kind of their southeastern Pennsylvania launch. We were utilizing them in Philly for quite a while, but they are doing an official widespread launch. So they're covering, starting to move into the Northeast territory. So we're helping them celebrate that through the happy hour. Already have a lot of great attendees lined up. But if you haven't registered yet and you're in the Philadelphia area and you're interested in attending, we're trying to get 3PLs and shippers together to be able to network with each other, and maybe share some potential peak season insights or peak season stories. But definitely looking forward to that. And it's actually Expo East is actually next week as well, in Philly, which is like a natural food convention, but a lot of logistics companies are going there too as well. I guess for potential clients that need to ship stuff or have transportation for those natural foods. So if you're heading into the city, you can check out Expo East, and then you can come on Thursday to the happy hour. So all that information is in the description of the video, so you can check that out. Other than that, we are going to get into the main segment for today. And the main segment is with Tom Ryden. He is the executive director of MassRobotics. We've had him on the podcast in the past, but we're going to talk to him a little bit about what's been going on with MassRobotics and their upcoming event on September 30th, which is going to be RoboFest Block Party, RoboBoston Block Party in Boston. So really going to be an interesting event. I'll be up there for the day to check it out for a little while, and definitely you'll get all the information from Tom in my conversation here with him. But really great mission that they have and what they're doing to try and push the robotics industry forward and help to have robotic startups get started on the right foundation and build up from there. So hope to see you guys at the happy hour next week. If you can make it, please register. And if not, then hopefully we'll see you at a conference coming up. The next one will be CSCMP Edge in the first week of October. So here's my conversation with Tom Ryden of MassRobotics. Hey guys, I am here and joined by Tom Ryden. He is the executive director at MassRobotics, and he's going to tell us all about MassRobotics. He's been on the podcast before, but if you haven't listened to that episode before, he's going to give us a little scoop on what MassRobotics does, which is really cool stuff. And he's also going to talk to us about an upcoming block party that they're going to have all about robots called RoboBoston. And you guessed it, it's going to be in Boston by the name, right? So, Tom, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kevin. Great to see you again.
You too. It's good to connect with you, and definitely love the mission of MassRobotics. So always happy to talk to you about what you guys do. But for those that are not familiar with what MassRobotics does, why don't you give us some insight there?
Sure. So, MassRobotics is an independent nonprofit. Our mission is to support the robotics industry, and we do that kind of in three ways. We do a lot of advocacy for the industry, both at the federal and state level, around rules, regulations. We've helped with standards. We developed an AMR interoperability standard to allow multiple different kinds of robots on warehouse floors to interoperate, to communicate with each other. We do things like that just in general to support the industry. We also, and we're probably best known for our innovation center here in Boston. We currently house about 80 startups, and we provide them resources that hopefully will allow them to become successful. That includes space, access to robots, access to mentors, help with fundraising, all the things that really a young startup may need. And that's specifically in the robotics space. So we are definitely focused on robotics. Although, as you know, and you can imagine, robotics is pretty broad. So
Yeah,
I'd say
definitely.
about 30%, 20 to 30% of our companies do something in warehouse automation, factory automation. And then the other companies we have medical robotics, we have some consumer facing robotics, we have agricultural robotics. So really a broad range. But some of the warehouse ones are really, I really get excited about because they're doing some
Yeah.
really cool stuff.
Definitely. And I think, to that point too, I mean, I think it's interesting, and I've talked about this kind of previously on my podcast as well, but it's very interesting to see some of the robotics applications in the logistics warehouse space because I think in the way that I see it is that there's this technology out there, and then it's very cool technology, it's cutting edge and all these things, but then when it finds like a practical home or a practical application, like a lot of times it's in the logistics and warehousing space. So I'm curious kind of your thoughts on that, and also what you're seeing there in terms of where is a lot of the robotics technology heading, and as far as industry wide, it sounds like a large percentage is logistics warehouse, but also some agriculture too. Why don't you give us some kind of feedback on that?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons that the warehouse market is so appealing to startups is because there's a proven success there.
Mm,
They are a number of companies that have deployed hundreds and hundreds of units, and they are showing real value and real ROI for the warehouse operators, and therefore these companies are looking for more technology, and our startups are looking at different applications, sometimes more, I don't want to say niche because that doesn't sound right, but more specific or more targeted. We have ones that are working on mobile manipulation, which is a big challenging thing. We have a company that's doing heavy lift mobile manipulation. So can I lift totes, boxes, bins that maybe weigh 150 pounds? Palletizing, depalletizing. And then inspection is really an area that we see a lot of people using different technologies. to better understand both the layout of the warehouse and then where all the goods are, their movement of the goods, and so forth. And we just had a brand new company join us, I think the start of this month, called Simple Automation, that's doing storage and retrieval system that adds onto your existing warehousing shelves. So it doesn't require
Really?
you to modify your system, but allows you to kind of use what you already have in terms of your existing racks. So they're a young startup. They're getting going here. We're excited about what they're doing and some of the other companies that we have.
Interesting stuff, and I mean, I think it's really a great thing to see, and I love the name, Simple Automation. I mean, it's I mean, you like when you're in the warehouse and in the logistics industry, like you like simple, you want simple applications, right? And I love that they're looking at existing infrastructure to be able to apply that there. So I think we'll have to talk offline. We got to get them on the podcast maybe, but definitely interesting stuff that's going on there. And tell us a little bit about, because I think the last time we spoke to on the podcast, we talked a lot about the interoperability, which MassRobotics
Yep.
has a lot of involvement in. And I think certainly this past year, when I was at ProMat, there was a lot of emphasis on that as well in terms of, can this robotics company interact with this robotics company? How does that communication flow through to different solutions, different applications? So tell us a little bit about kind of where we are on those interoperability standards and what does that really kind of mean for us as an industry too.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work going on in that area, and we're actually really involved with the transition of what we did as our initial standard into an ISO standard. So we're really excited. We're working with A3 and which is a great organization, and transitioning our early standard into a full ISO standard. That's going to take some time. That'll take work, but that'll allow
Yeah.
it to be an internationally recognized standard. And then there's continuing development in that area. So our first standard was, I will say, pretty simple. It really just enabled communication.
Mhm.
And now there's discussions about how do you do tasking, how do you do more intelligent tasking when you have fleets of robots that are from different vendors. And
Mhm.
so there's going to be continuing work in there. And there's also looking at, areas that I think long term definitely need to be tackled, like charging. Can we get a common charger, right? Now, we can't get that on cell phones or laptops, so asking it for AMRs is going to be tricky, but hopefully we can get there. And so I think that's another area. All of this, all of this effort in standardization, I think, is just going to help mature the industry and allow adoption to continue to grow. And that's one of the reasons we enjoy supporting these efforts.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, and I definitely I had a conversation about charging as well. I think a while back with Daniel Theobald, right, who's involved in Mass Robotics too, and it's interesting to see, and it's funny that you pointed out the cell phones, right? Because I think it's kind of like Apple is the holdout right there on the charging standard a little bit, but yeah, I mean it's really great to see, and especially when companies embrace those standards too, because for the end consumer, it makes it so much easier to adopt different solutions and bring different solutions together, which ultimately over time, I mean, pushes the innovation and progression of those technologies and solutions further. Because if you have somebody that has a great technology, but then it's closed off. It's walled off to other solutions and things like that. People are gonna potentially shy away from that because they're like, well, I need more than one solution to do all the things that I do. So I think it's really great that you guys are pushing that forward, and really kind of a big driver behind like making that happen. And I think the standards are certainly a great thing. So tell us a little bit about, you told us about Mass Robotics, kind of what's going on there, what you guys are up to. But a lot of this is going to be showcased at this upcoming block party in Boston
Yep.
called RoboBoston. So tell us about this event. Where did the idea come from, and what can people expect to find there?
Sure. So we started this a couple of years ago. It's really grown, but we get a lot of requests to come and see and visit our site, and
Mm,
it's really not open to the public. It's for companies to work, and yes, we have a lot of very interesting robots there, but you just can't come in and wander through.
Yeah.
But we had so many of those requests. We said, well, why don't we just pick a weekend and get people to bring their robots, set them up. We do it under a tent out in the Seaport District of Boston. And we'll have about 75, 80 robots of different types out.
Oh,
And then it's a chance for people to bring, obviously, themselves, but maybe their family members to come and get really up close and personal with robots. It's a ton of variety. We'll, of course, have some educational robots. We'll have some dogs, as you can imagine. There'll be a number of spots and others around and about. We'll have a couple of humanoids. But it's a chance for people to see what the technology is, where it's going, and really kind of experience it and get familiar with it. We don't want people to be. I think there's still a concern about robots taking over, obviously, jobs and maybe impacting work in a way that people don't know. So this gives them a chance to see, okay, what can robots do? We'll have a number of collaborative arms. We'll have, one of my favorites is a system that we work with a company called Target Arm. They have a drone catch and release system. And it allows for,
wow.
so think about if you're delivering packages by a drone, like
Right.
from a FedEx or something, he can't stop and load the drone and then have the drone fly to the house and then wait for the drone to come back to the truck. That's not really efficient. And
Yeah.
so they've come up with a system that essentially the truck can be driving along and it releases a drone. The drone can go deliver it and then catch up to the truck later on and captures it and brings it back into the truck where they load it for the next package. So it's all around efficiencies. How can I make this drone delivery really efficient? And it's a unique way of looking at that. I think we're seeing some very interesting technologies around that that are going to continue to expand this idea of last mile delivery, whether it's drones
Mhm.
or robots, ground robots. So that's going to be one of the companies that are there. You'll be able to see their system capturing drones out of the air. That'll be pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty interesting because I've had some discussions with some drone people, drone folks on the podcast, and we talked a lot of some of those like challenges that you mentioned there. So I'd be interested to see that for sure. And a lot of robots that are going to be there. You said like 75 to 80 robots. So I mean, are these all robots that are within the Mass Robotics kind of incubator, or is it from other
No,
companies
about
as well?
half are robots from our companies, and then half are
Mhm.
just from the community. I think one of the great things about being in Boston is there is such a vibrant robotics community.
Yeah, huge.
We have many major players: Boston Dynamics and
Mhm.
Toyota Research, and of course iRobot and Amazon Robotics. So all of those companies are in the area, and sometimes those companies will bring robots. And then we have some. I'm got to be careful because I'm not sure. I think we might have a self-driving vehicle and things like that. So it's there's just a variety that in the area that bring their robots. It's a chance for them to show, and we'll have like a sidewalk delivery robot there as well. So really a great mix of robots.
All right, great, and definitely very, very exciting, and I think very cool too that you're looking at it from the perspective of making it instead of the traditional kind of conference industry event, like you're making it a family oriented thing, and encouraging people to bring out their families and get familiar with robotics and see what's going on, because I think, like you said, I mean, there is still that skepticism out there in some parts, and people worried about what do robots mean for like my future of work, or just in general like my future of life. So I think it's really great that you're trying to give that exposure and to so many different types of technology too is a really interesting thing. So it's really a great thing to be able to do that, and make people more comfortable being around robots and understanding how robots can make our work and industry and life better in lots of different ways. So it's
Exactly.
on September 30th, right? So give us kind
Yep.
of all those details, the where, when,
Sure.
how do you
Yep.
register, all these different things.
Yeah. So it is on September 30th, Saturday, September 30th, and from 11 till 4. It's free to the public. We will be located in the Seaport District of Boston. So that is one of the newer areas. We'll be in a parking lot that is converted so we'll have some tents and a lot of things going on there. And it's right off of Northern Avenue, so it's pretty easy to find. People, I think, if you're new to Boston, you just ask for folks where the seaport is, and they'll point you in the right direction. Um, and there is a registration link, and I apologize, I don't have it handy. But you can just show up too. It's not as I said. It's just open, and we encourage you to come browse, and there'll be some hands-on things too. So which is great if people want to actually either program a robot or use a robot or just experience some of the educational robots. That'll all be available as well.
All right, great. And we'll definitely put the link in the description too, so people can easily find it. So very interesting stuff. And I'm curious, it's a block party, right? So are we going to have any humanoid robots like flipping burgers or anything like that?
I'm not sure what food prep stuff there's really interesting work happening in that area.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think we can quite do that yet. There's a little bit of issues around making sure
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
all the right licensing. But that's a great idea. I like that. We'll have to see if we can get one of those in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see that. It'd be very interesting. So Tom, great to learn more about Mass Robotics and obviously RoboBoston. Great event. Looking forward to being there and looking forward to seeing all of the different robot applications that will be there. So really interesting stuff. And like I said, we have more information in the description of the video. So make sure you check it out for details and make sure you are in Boston on September 30th. So Tom, thank you very much for joining me today and giving us all this great information about this upcoming event.
Well, Kevin, thank you for having us. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the work you guys do too about letting people know about all the technology that's happening in the warehousing and related industry. So thanks again for having us.